You're going to raise taxes on anyone who has comprehensive health insurance. That's part of your proposal. You provide in your budget documents for a significant increase in revenues in order to pay for your affordable choice program. In fact, one estimate I've seen is that the year after next, you're going to raise taxes by a total of $236 billion on those people on their comprehensive health insurance program with the new Bush health insurance tax.
Will the gentleman yield for clarification?
Well, I'd like the Secretary to answer first. This is a program he said was so important.
Well, I think it could be very interesting. I don't know anything about the new Bush health insurance tax.
Well, it's in your budget documents, Mr. Secretary.
You're going to have a very interesting discussion with Secretary Leavitt, I guess, when he's here.
I do plan to ask him about it this afternoon, but you're the Secretary of Treasury, and you've endorsed this proposal, and you would have a much bigger hole in your budget than you do if you didn't raise revenue. And you are raising revenue. I understand if you just listen to the President's State of the Union address, you'd never know that was part of the proposal. But he's got a proposal to raise taxes on 30 to 38 million Americans who have comprehensive health insurance. He says that's going to encourage them. It's going to redesign the marketplace. But nevertheless, if you're out there and you've got a good insurance program, you're going to be paying higher taxes under the Bush health insurance tax.
So you're talking about the tax preference on health insurance that
I'm talking about the $238 billion increase in taxes the Bush administration is proposing the year after next on people who have comprehensive health insurance. That tax.
I got to tell you, I don't know what you're talking about, but if you
look at your budget documents, and I'd welcome a follow-up, and I'll ask Secretary Leavitt, and I'll move on to something else if you're not familiar with the increase.
Are you talking about the standard deduction for health insurance?
I'm talking about the fact that people who have comprehensive health insurance are going to be taxed on it under the Bush plan, and they're not today. And for every one of those 30 to 38 million Americans, that's a tax increase. It's the Bush tax increase.
Let me say to you, what this does, this health insurance is a standard deduction. It gives the same standard deduction to everyone, no matter what their health insurance plan is, and it treats.
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary. I don't think that's really responsive to my question, but let me ask you about the other tax increase that the chairman asked you about.
What is the tax increase you're talking about?
I'm talking about the tax increase that the Bush administration has proposed on people with comprehensive health insurance that you've included in your budget documents as an attempt to offset a portion of what you call your affordable choice program. And it's a tax increase as real as any that anyone has ever talked about here. But let me ask you about the AMT, since you talked about that with the chairman. You do acknowledge...
is there something you want to say further to that?
I guess I'm confused as to what the congressman is talking about.
I think what he's talking about is the exclusion from ordinary income of employer-provided freedoms.
Yeah, I got it.
Premiums.
Okay.
Which will be repealed and replaced with a standard deduction.
Yes, absolutely.
The Bush health tax.
Okay. Now,
but there will be, I guess, 20% of the population, health-covered population, by your estimate, who will be disadvantaged by that.
Okay. Now, in terms of the...
I don't accept that calculation, but I understand that's what you were...
I don't either. So let me just, again, look at it and say what this does and address his question about the tax. What this is a standard deduction that everyone who has health insurance gets, whether they get it through the employer, whether they get it themselves in the individual market. What this does is it's at $15,000. So those 20% of those in the employer-provided health market, 20% of those people who get a plan that's a gold-plated plan where the premiums are greater than $15,000 will pay more taxes unless they restructure their health insurance. 80% will end up better from a tax standpoint.
Well, let me just say your own revenue estimates show this Bush tax increase, and if you're out there and you call it gold-plated, but it's a comprehensive plan to cover your child with disabilities, you're going to be paying more taxes. And you've said you can't institute this plan to cover what I think Ms. Schwartz appropriately identified as a 7% solution to cover 7% of the uninsured unless you add this kind of additional revenue.
Congressman, we need to spend some time offline, because what this will do is that the vast majority of people will be better off, and this is revenue neutral.
I understand full well your claims, and the very fact that you just told me it's revenue neutral makes the point. It costs something to provide this additional coverage, and 30 to 38 million people are going to pay higher Bush insurance taxes as a result to make it revenue neutral.
Well, there will be 20 people at the high end that get they get gold-plated insurance plans. They'll either have the opportunity to restructure their insurance, or they will pay more taxes. But there will be 80% that will be much better off.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.